It's been an overcast kind of a day. As you can see, we are standing outside a CNG pump. And why? That's because we have the Ertiga CNG with us on test over here. And we're going to drive it to find out what it's really about. Now, we're not going to be doing an extensive test on the Ertiga because we've driven the car multiple times before and we already know what it's all about. If you want to know that, you can head to our YouTube channel, find all the stuff over there. Today, we are here to find out how the Ertiga is to live with if you buy the CNG version. So, let's get started. Now, ideally what we're going to do here is we've topped up the CNG tank and we're just going to drive around in different traffic conditions. We're going to be driving on highway, on the city, we're going to be driving fast, we're going to be driving slow. Basically a mix of everything that you would find on the road. The goal here is to find out how efficient the Ertiga CNG is. Now, honestly, I'm not expecting it to do very well because you're going to be driving fast also, so obviously that's going to take a toll on efficiency. What is your guess? What kind of an efficiency will the Ertiga CNG return if we drive it in just a mix of all conditions? Let us know in the comments below and let's see if you can get close to the answer, which we will get at the end of the day. So let's get started. But before we do that, let me just show you that we've zeroed our trip. We've zeroed the total driving time we are on. We've zeroed everything here. The tank has been topped up to the brim. Now obviously with CNG there is a slight problem of pressures at the pump, so it's not very accurate, but we will still get a pretty decent number in terms of what kind of efficiency the Ertiga CNG is returning. So let's get started. Hi, my name is Dhruv Paliwal. You're watching autoX and today we're driving the Ertiga CNG. Let's take a stock of where things stand. We've done a nice stint on the highway. We have a lot to talk about, but first let's just take a look at where our range, where the efficiency stands, and if the camera could just come in and show you what's there on my screen. You'll notice that I've consumed about half the tank of CNG and I've driven for around 93 kilometers. That's a fair number. I mean, we've been driving at triple digit speeds continuously, so I mean, I do not expect it to be very efficient. But anyway, the efficiency number is going to come in at the end when we when we top up the tank again. What I want to talk about is the way this Ertiga CNG moves on the highway. If you are going to drive it sedately, the difference is pretty much non-existent when it comes to comparing the petrol and to the CNG over here. And that's because Maruti has tuned this really well. The Ertiga, when it's running on CNG, it's actually down on power. It's actually down on torque when compared to the petrol engine, when compared to when it's running on petrol. But you just do not notice that difference here. If you mash your foot down, if you are just like pedal to the metal, looking for outright acceleration, and then you do that between CNG and petrol, yes, you will see that difference. But that is not how we drive. That is not how you normally drive on public roads. On public roads, you build your speeds gradually, you're smooth, you're consistent, and when you maintain all those characteristics and when you basically drive in that fashion, that's when the Ertiga CNG, it just doesn't like let you know if you're driving in CNG or petrol mode, because that gap, it's so minuscule. The engine was also very happy to rev. I was honestly downshift rev matching on CNG. I was a little skeptical if the engine would that cleanly so that I could actually do that downshift rev match. And honestly, it was. Although, yeah, I think it's kudos to the engine also, because it's 1.5 liter petrol engine in the Ertiga. It's a very refined unit. We've driven it separately in multiple cars, in the Brezza, in the Ciaz, and it is a very refined unit and it likes to rev. So I think it's also part of that. But even on CNG, that nature has not been lost. That is something I'm very excited about. That is something I'm very happy about. And full marks to Maruti on that account. I couldn't really make out anything that I was lacking in the experience. The Ertiga as a general, it's the same car. But when it comes to the CNG experience on the highway, when you're doing triple digit speeds, I honestly didn't found there was much to be lacking. So now we are heading inside city limits where let's see what happens to the efficiency. I'm actually starting to go below the half tank now. Hope I don't run out. Alright, so now we've been driving inside city limits for the past 30 kilometers. We've done a great mix of traffic, slow moving traffic, red lights, the quick moving traffic inside the city, stop and go traffic, everything we've done. And our CNG tank, which was half at the time of our last check-in, has now come down to just a quarter of a tank remaining. We've done 123.7 kilometers. And honestly, I don't see a problem here. I mean, as I said, we're not driving in a fuel efficient manner because we're driving for a shoot, and fuel efficiency is never possible in those circumstances. So yeah, as far as the Ertiga CNG goes, it's the same thing as the highway. I mean, I honestly cannot make out the difference between the petrol Ertiga, between the Ertiga petrol running on petrol and running on CNG, because there is none. Only difference is again when you floor it, and even then you just have to feel for that difference, which is something that a layman or you probably will not when you're driving this car. So I think the experience of the Ertiga that way is very similar to the one that's on petrol. Now I've talked about how it feels in the highway, how it feels on the city. There's a couple of other things that I want to talk about. First thing first, I still haven't found out a way. So when you start the Ertiga, it starts on petrol. And ideally in CNG cars now, especially even Tata has done this, that they have configured the technology in such a way that you can directly start on CNG. Or in aftermarket kits also for that matter, if you start on petrol, then it automatically switches over to CNG. That is something which is not the case with the Ertiga. It's not switching over. If you're starting on petrol, it stays on petrol. If you haven't yet tried to start it on CNG, and you know what? Let me just do that. Bear with me. So I tried to start it on CNG, but the ECU just changes it back to petrol automatically. And yeah, now what it has done is that because I switched it off on CNG and tried to start it on CNG, it was on petrol for a short period of time and then it automatically switched over. If you are driving in petrol, however, and you switch it off there, it won't go back. So yes, that auto switchover facility is there, but it's only when you are driving in CNG, which is fine. As far as range goes, there is no way to know the range that is left because that is not there. Even I think that facility has gone for petrol. If I swap through the menus over here in front of me, that facility is gone. But funnily enough, Maruti is now giving me two gauges to know how much CNG I have left. Now, one, as you can see here, is on the left inside the tacho. This, I believe, previously used to be the hot and cold gauge for the engine. One is there on the MID. Now, this one's switchable. I can switch it to other stuff. There really is not anything else that's interesting power talk. I don't want to know. There's one mode that tells you the split between how much you've driven on CNG, how much you've driven on petrol. And this is the most convenient thing, and it also tells you how much time you've driven on CNG, things like that. So in that manner of speaking, I think two gauges here are kind of a little redundant. Yes, I think I like the one on the screen better. I could have done without the analog gauge. It would have also freed up space for a hot and cold cluster gauge. Yes, I know in today's cars you really don't need that gauge too much because it's to tell you if there is something wrong with your car or not, because that's generally when the engine starts to heat up. But today's car you don't really need that. But still, I mean, instead of making a redundancy like this, I could have done with that. That's I think one small quirk of the Ertiga that I kind of do not like. But it's okay. I mean, it's something that you can very easily live with. So, yep, that's how the Ertiga is to drive in the city, and that's what has changed when it comes to the Ertiga CNG. Everything else, it's pretty much the same. So, yeah, now we're heading to the pump to find out exactly how many kilometers we've driven and how many kilograms of CNG we have consumed. So, stay tuned. Going to do that now. So finally reached the pump. We're not actually allowed to shoot outside on the premises. So I'm gonna go tank up the car and I'm gonna meet you at the exit to find out the result. That was a long ride. So the results are finally in. First of all, we drove 130 kilometers, out of which let's say 95 was around 95 to 100 was on the highway, 30 kilometers was in dense city traffic conditions. So that's a good mix of what we have, and that's generally how people will end up driving. So we've got a good mix of conditions. Secondly, now the thing is, when you fill CNG, it's all about pressure. So we filled at a different pump from where we filled at in the beginning, and even at that same pump, the pressure that was there in the morning will not be there right now. But there the pressure was just over 200, here is just below 200. So I mean, it's not that big a gap. The more the pressure at the pump, the more CNG you can fill into your tank. But ideally, the CNG tank in the back of the Ertiga takes around 9 kilograms of CNG. The Maruti says it around the ARA efficiency of the Ertiga with the CNG is around 26 kilometers per kilogram, which is pretty impressive. But how much did it return in the real world? Now I'm just gonna open the calculator on my phone and do some quick math. But the headline figures are that we drove for 130.5 kilometers and we filled 5.696 kilograms of gas. And you know what we get? 22.91 kilometers per kilogram. And that is super impressive. I was not expecting this number. And the reason behind this is, so I think if you take this efficiency in mind, the Ertiga here, it will very easily post 200, more than 200 kilometers on a tank. Also, I think there is one problem here. I think because the pressure was just a little under, we've not actually filled CNG in the tank up till the point where we filled it in the morning. So that small gap will be there. But still, I mean, if you even reduce this by 2, bring it down to 20 kilometers per kilogram, that is still a very impressive number because we didn't take it easy on the car. We were doing nice triple digit speeds. We were checking it out in any condition. We were photographing, we were capturing pictures of the car, we were capturing footage, we were capturing video, all of that. And all of that means that the car is running all the time, the AC is on all the time. It's not being run in fuel efficient conditions. So 22.9, according to the numbers, if you take me, it's anywhere between 20 and 22.9. Both of which are really impressive numbers for a car this size. So I mean, yeah, you can ferry your family around in comfort and relatively frugally. So that was our take on the Ertiga CNG. How did you like this range test? Do you think you want to see more of these range tests on the channel? Why don't you let us know in the comments below? Thank you so much for watching. Until the next one, goodbye. Okay, so you know that's not all, right? If you like the video, do hit that like button. That's how YouTube knows you like our work. Subscribe to the channel for more such kind of content, more such content that actually brings the picture in front of you rather than just putting the figures out there. Finally, hit that bell notification so that when we make these kind of videos, they reach you at the earliest. Yeah, that is all. Thank you so much. Goodbye.